My husband stood up at Thanksgiving dinner and told everyone he wanted to divorce me from my younger sister. They had been secretly dating behind my back. I stayed calm and said, "Before anyone says anything, please look under your plates right now. You should have seen their faces when they lifted those plates. Hello everyone. I'm so grateful you are here with me today. It has taken me many months to find the courage to share what happened to me. For the longest time I could not speak about it. The pain was too big, like a giant rock sitting on my chest. But I know that some of you watching might be going through hard times too, and maybe my story will help you feel stronger. Before we begin, I would love to know where you are watching from. Please write your city name in the comments below. My name is Maya Chin. I work as a computer security expert, which means I help protect people's information on computers and phones. I find hidden files and deleted messages. I am very good at solving puzzles and noticing small details that other people miss. I never ever thought that the biggest puzzle I would solve would be about my own husband cheating on me. Everything fell apart on a cold Thursday in November during our big family Thanksgiving dinner. My grandmother's house smelled wonderful. The turkey was cooking in the oven. My aunt had made her famous sweet potato pie. My little cousins were playing games in the basement. Everyone was laughing and talking. The whole family was together just like every year. Everything looked perfect and happy. But it was all fake. I remember watching my husband Derek from across the big dinner table. He worked as a heart surgeon at the children's hospital. He saved kids' lives every single day. Everyone thought he was amazing and kind. I had believed that for 9 whole years. He was making everyone laugh with a funny story about a patient who woke up from surgery asking for pizza. Then he picked up his fork and tapped it against his water glass. Ting ting ting. The sound made everyone stop talking. All the eyes in the room looked at him. I watched his face carefully. My job had taught me to notice tiny things about people. I saw that his hands were shaking just a little bit. I saw him quickly look at my sister Lily before looking up at the ceiling. My heart started beating very slowly and heavily in my chest, like a big drum. I had been carrying a terrible secret all by myself for 8 long months. Derek took a big breath. His voice sounded practiced, like he had been rehearsing what to say. "Maya and I are going to get divorced." Everyone at the table gasped. They were so shocked. My mom covered her mouth with both hands. My grandmother said, "Oh no, sweetheart." My dad's face looked confused and upset. "I did not want to tell everyone this way," Derek said, pretending to be sad. "But since our whole family is here together." He stopped talking to let everyone feel shocked. Then he said the worst part. "There is something else you need to know," he said. He reached across the table, passed the bowl of mashed potatoes and the gravy, and grabbed my sister Lily's hand. "Lily and I are in love with each other." The room became completely silent. So quiet that I could hear the clock ticking on the wall. Then my mom whispered, "This cannot be real." Everyone turned to stare at me. They were waiting for me to scream and cry and throw things. They thought I would yell and break the dishes. They expected me to act exactly how they wanted, like the wife who did not know anything and was totally surprised. But I did not do what they expected. Instead, I looked at each person slowly. I stayed calm. I took a small drink of my water. Then I said the words that would destroy their whole plan. "Please everyone, look under your plates right now." Derek's confident smile disappeared. He looked confused. "Under our plates?" he asked. His voice sounded worried now. "What are you talking about?" "I put special envelopes there before dinner started," I said in a quiet, steady voice. I pulled out my own envelope from under my plate. Everyone should have one. Just like that, I took control of the story. It was not their story anymore. It was mine. It is strange how your brain works when something shocking happens. While everyone sat there frozen and confused, slowly reaching for their plates, my mind went back 9 years to a charity party at the Atlanta Science Museum. The big room was beautiful and sparkly. Rich people in fancy clothes were everywhere. I was there because my computer company had given money to help the museum. That is where I met Derek. He was handsome and looked uncomfortable in his suit. He was not talking to the rich donors. Instead, he was sitting with a sick little boy in a wheelchair, making the boy laugh so hard that milk came out of his nose. There was something special about Derek. He had real kindness that seemed rare. He told me he was a children's heart surgeon. He helped fix broken hearts in little kids. He held their hands before surgery and was there when they woke up. How could anyone not fall in love with a man like that? We connected right away that night. We talked for hours and hours about everything. Exactly 1 year later, we got married in a beautiful ceremony in my parents' garden under the huge tree I used to climb when I was little. The first few years of our marriage were amazing, like something from a movie. We bought an old house that needed lots of fixing and spent every weekend painting walls and building shelves together. We would argue about what color to paint the kitchen and then laugh until our stomachs hurt. Derek worked very long hours at the hospital. That was normal for doctors. But he always made special time just for us. I remember one time I had a really bad week at work. Nothing was going right and I felt like giving up. I came home late on Friday night feeling exhausted and defeated. The house was dark. For a second I felt sad, thinking Derek was not home. But then I saw little candles making a path from the front door through the house to our backyard. He had put blankets and pillows outside under the stars. He brought my favorite cheese and fancy crackers. We stayed up all night looking at stars through his telescope. He just held me close and listened to all my problems. He did not try to fix everything. He just let me know I was not alone. He would leave little notes on my computer that said, "You are amazing. Love you." He made incredible pancakes every Sunday morning. His terrible singing would fill the whole house while he cooked. I had never felt so safe, so loved, so completely happy in my entire life. That was the man I married. That was the beautiful life we created together. That was what I held on to and believed in. The thing I thought was solid and real but was actually built on lies. The first crack appeared 3 years ago. First, it did not look like a problem. It looked like family helping family. My sister Lily had always been the one who could not settle down. While I was building my career and making a stable life, she was moving around constantly. She quit college twice. She moved from city to city, from Boston to Seattle to Denver, changing jobs all the time. She was always searching for something but never finding it. So when she called me crying from a bus stop in Denver after another failed plan, I felt terrible for her. She had no money, no friends nearby, and felt hopeless. "Just come stay with us," I told her. "Come to Atlanta. You can live in our guest room until you figure things out." I remember talking to Derek about it that evening. He seemed hesitant, and I should have paid more attention to that hesitation. He was sitting at the kitchen table looking at medical magazines. "Are you absolutely sure, Maya?" he asked without looking up at me. "Having another person living here, even your sister, might change things for us." "She is my sister, Derek," I said, feeling defensive. "She has nowhere else to go. Family takes care of family. It will just be for a few months." He finally looked up and gave me that warm smile that always made me feel better. "'Kay," he said. "Course. Whatever you think is right." What was supposed to be 2 months turned into 7 months. Lily got a job working at an art store, but she said she could not afford Atlanta's high rent prices on her small paycheck. "I'm saving money, Maya. Promise," she kept saying. "Just a little bit longer." And honestly, I did not mind at first. I had always wanted to be closer to my sister. We had grown apart over the years because we were both so busy. Having her there seemed to fill an empty space in our home that I had not even noticed before. Her fun, messy energy was different from my quiet, organized personality. The house felt more alive and full. For a while it felt like we were a real family. I was so happy to have my sister living with us. I had no idea I was letting a snake into my own home. Looking back is painful, is it not? You see everything so clearly after it happens. All the warning signs you ignored suddenly make perfect sense. They line up like dominoes, all pointing to the ugly truth. After Lily moved into our house, things started changing. But it happened so slowly and sneakily that I did not see it. Derek started working longer and longer hours at the hospital. An emergency operation, a complicated surgery, a last-minute meeting with other doctors. I was married to a surgeon. Long hours were normal. I never questioned it. I just saved him dinner and went to bed alone. Lily started going out for errands that took way longer than they should. Quick trip to buy groceries would take 4 hours. "Oh, I ran into someone I knew from high school," she would say with red cheeks. They developed private jokes and secret looks across the dinner table that left me out. Sometimes I would walk into a room and find them talking quietly, but they would immediately stop talking when they saw me. The air felt weird and thick, like I had interrupted something private. When I asked what they were discussing, they always said the same vague thing. Nothing important. I remember a barbecue party we had in our backyard. My mom pulled me aside in the kitchen while I was getting more potato salad. "You know," she said quietly, looking out the window with a frown on her face. "Derek and Lily seem to be very close friends." I looked outside through the window. Derek was helping Lily put up the volleyball net. He was laughing with his hand on her shoulder, showing her how to hold the pole. "Why would that be a problem?" I asked, genuinely confused. "It is nice, right?" "I suppose it is nice," my mom said with a shrug. "Some husbands do not get along with their wife's family at all. You're lucky." "Lucky?" I thought I was lucky. My husband and my sister were friends. Our home felt happier and more full of life. Even my best friend Jasmine noticed something. We were eating lunch together one day when my phone rang. It was Lily calling Derek's phone, which he had accidentally left in my car. This was the third time that morning she had called him for something silly and unimportant. Jasmine watched me answer the call with a skeptical look on her face. After I hung up, she stirred her iced tea slowly and said, "Maya, you need to be careful." "Careful about what?" I laughed. "I would not let my sister get that comfortable with my husband," she said seriously. I felt almost offended. "Jasmine, it is not like that. Lily just depends on him. She looks up to him like a big brother. Plus, this is Derek we are talking about." The meaning was clear. Derek would never betray me. He was too honest, too loyal, too good. I told myself I was being paranoid and jealous for no reason. If Derek and Lily stopped talking when I walked into a room, it was just a coincidence. If he quickly put his phone in his pocket when a text came in, it was just boring work stuff. Trust was the most important thing in our marriage. I held on to that trust like it was a life raft, not knowing that I was already drowning. The discovery happened by accident. It was not dramatic like in movies. It was ordinary. It was a Monday evening about 8 months before that Thanksgiving dinner. Derek was working overnight at the hospital and I was working from home trying to finish a report. I wanted to order Chinese food but my phone battery was dead. I grabbed Derek's tablet from his office without thinking twice about it. I opened the internet browser. It was set to remember his last pages, and there it was, his personal email open on the screen. I was not looking for anything bad. I had no reason to be suspicious. My finger was already moving to close the window, but one email subject line caught my attention. It was from Lily. The subject just said, "About yesterday." My blood turned cold. Against every logical thought in my brain, I clicked on it, and my whole world, the safe, stable world I had so carefully built, shattered into a million pieces. The email was clear and obvious. "Yesterday was incredible," Lily had written. "Cannot stop thinking about you. I can still feel your arms around me." I felt like I could not breathe. My vision got blurry. I scrolled down. There was Derek's reply sent from his phone earlier that day. "We need to be more careful," he had written. "I do not want to hurt Maya. But I cannot stop thinking about you either." Kept scrolling and scrolling. I read the whole conversation with a weird, horrible feeling of distance, like I was looking at evidence for a work case instead of watching my own life fall apart. The emails went back more than 2 years. 2 whole years. They had been planning and messaging and talking about being together since before she even moved to Atlanta. Her moving into our house was not because she needed help. It was all part of a plan. 2 years of lying. 2 years of secret meetings, hidden messages, and betrayal. They had been doing this right in front of my face, in my own house, maybe even in my own bed. I closed the tablet without ordering food. I sat there in the dark in Derek's office chair for what felt like forever. The silence in the house was so loud it hurt my ears. Every happy memory from the past 2 years was now ruined and poisoned. Every late night at the hospital, every errand Lily ran, every secret look I had ignored, it all made perfect, horrible sense now. When Derek came home that night, I searched his face for any sign of the stranger I had just discovered. Any hint that the man who kissed my forehead and asked how my day was is the same person who wrote those messages to my sister. But he looked exactly the same. He smiled his same warm smile. His eyes looked at me with the same gentle kindness. "You okay?" he asked, noticing I was quiet. "Rough day at work. Just tired," I said. My voice sounded hollow and far away, even to myself. He nodded, completely unaware of what I knew. And as I watched him move through our house, through our life so easily and comfortably while hiding this terrible secret, I realized the man I married never existed. He was fake, made up. And I knew right then that just finding out was not enough. I would not just confront them and yell. That was what they would expect. Well, I would do what I do best. I would collect evidence and document everything. For the next few weeks, I lived in a fog. I swung back and forth between crushing, terrible pain and a strange cold numbness. I would wake up at 3 in the morning with my heart pounding. The words from their emails were burned into my brain. How could I have been so blind? During the day, I was like a ghost just going through the motions. I went to work, made dinner, had conversations that felt fake and empty. I was living with a complete stranger, pretending everything was fine. Part of me, a small desperate part, still hoped there was some explanation. Maybe it was just fantasy talk. Maybe they never actually did anything. But my work habits, the skills that made me excellent at my job, are hard to turn off. Almost without meaning to at first, I started building a case. Started small. I was paying our bills online and saw a charge on our shared credit card from a fancy hotel downtown, the kind of place people go for romantic weekends. The charge was for a Tuesday afternoon when Derek told me he would be in surgery all day. I saved a picture of that receipt. That became my first piece of evidence. My investigation became more organized and careful. I turned on location sharing on Derek's phone, something we had set up years ago for safety and then forgotten about. When he said he was working late, a quick check showed his location at a restaurant across town, or even worse, at an address I looked up and found was Lily's new apartment. She had finally moved out a few months earlier. Now I understood that the move was just to make their affair easier. I wrote down every lie. I compared his work schedule with credit card bills. I noticed that he and Lily accidentally ran into each other way too often to be coincidence. The evidence kept piling up, damning and devastating. Not only were they having an affair, they were incredibly careless about it, like they did not think I would notice or maybe did not care if I found out. The worst moment came about 2 months after I found the emails. Derek told me he was going to a weekend medical conference in Savannah, Georgia. I felt that familiar cold knot in my stomach. A quick internet search showed there was no such conference happening. On Saturday morning, I found myself sitting in my car across the street from that same fancy hotel downtown. I only had to wait 15 minutes. I watched them arrive in his car. They were laughing together. Derek got out, walked around, and opened Lily's door for her. He put his hand on her lower back as they walked inside. It was such an intimate gesture, one I knew so well from our own relationship. It felt like watching a movie about someone else's life, not mine. I lifted my phone with a steady hand and took pictures. Blick, blick, blick. I saved everything, adding the photos to my growing secret folder on my computer labeled Project Truth. That night when Derek came home late, he told elaborate lies about the conference, the boring speakers, the terrible hotel breakfast. I just nodded and served him the dinner I had reheated, listening to his fiction. "You look exhausted," I said, seeing a faint smudge of lipstick on his shirt collar. It was Lily's shade. I recognized it instantly. "It was really intense," he agreed, taking my hand across the table. "But I am home now." The gentle way he held my hand, the casual lying, the pure audacity of it all almost broke me completely. I slowly pulled my hand away. "You should get some rest," I said quietly. That night, as he slept peacefully next to me, snoring softly like always, a monster in my bed, I made my final decision. I would not give them the satisfaction of my tears or my screaming. Not yet. I would keep gathering proof. I would build my case until it was perfect, unbreakable, and undeniable. And when the right time came, the reveal would not be private and messy where they could lie their way out of it. It would be public. It would be impossible to deny. And it would be completely and totally on my terms. After 3 months of living this double life, pretending everything was normal while secretly gathering evidence, I decided to test him. I needed to see how he would react, how deep his deception really went. I approached it strategically, like I would handle a difficult witness in an investigation. I picked a moment when he seemed vulnerable, tired after a long hospital shift, slightly relaxed from a glass of wine. We were sitting on our porch swing one evening. The weather was nice and cool. It was a scene from our happy years together. For just a moment it almost felt real again. "I think we should talk about Lily," I said casually, keeping my voice even and calm. I felt Derek's body tense next to me. It was a tiny shift, but I felt it. "What about her?" he asked. His tone was careful and guarded. "I have noticed you two seem really close lately," I said, watching his face in the dim porch light. "Do you want to tell me something?" He laughed, but it sounded forced and fake. "She is your sister, Maya. Course we are close. She is family." "No, I mean really close, Derek," I said, turning to look straight into his eyes. I stared at him hard, putting all my silent knowledge into that look. "Is there something you want to tell me?" For one quick second, I saw something flash in his eyes. Panic, recognition, maybe even guilt. I thought for one hopeful, foolish moment that he might confess. That the good man I married was still somewhere inside him, buried under all the lies. Then just as fast the mask came back. His face hardened. His eyes turned cold and mean. "I do not know what you are suggesting, Kesha, but I do not like it," he said in an icy voice full of condescension. "Lily is going through a hard time. Sometimes she asks me for advice. As a friend. Family. If you are feeling insecure about something, that is your problem. Maybe you should think about why you are suddenly so distrustful of everyone." Gaslighting. It was textbook manipulation, executed perfectly. The quick denial, the flipping of blame, making me seem like the crazy, jealous wife. It was so smooth, so practiced, it almost made me doubt what I knew. Almost. But I had the receipts. Had the photos. I had the truth saved in Project Truth. I just looked at him and nodded slowly. "You are right," I said quietly. "Maybe it is just me." He relaxed immediately, thinking he had won. He put his arm around me and pulled me close. "Hey," he said softly. "We are solid, you and me. Do not ever doubt that." I let him hold me. My body was stiff and cold. I felt absolutely nothing except a deep, chilling emptiness. My husband was not just a cheater. He was a manipulator. Gaslight. And this was no longer just about an affair. This was war. And I was the only one who knew the battle had already started. My failed attempt to get him to confess seemed to alert them both. It was like I had disturbed a beehive, and now they were launching their own attack against me. Their campaign of manipulation was so cruel and calculated. It was almost impressive in a twisted way. Lily started calling me constantly. "Hey big sis, wanna get coffee this weekend? Oh, there is a new art exhibit downtown. We should go see it together." Her voice was fake sweet and enthusiastic. Made my skin crawl. She was trying to create a new story, one where we were the closest, most loving sisters ever. That way my suspicions would seem crazy and impossible. The worst part was when she tried to set me up with other men. We were at an art gallery opening and she pulled me over to meet one of the artists, a single guy. "Maya works too hard," she said with a fake pout on her face. "Derek and I both think she needs to have more fun and meet new people." The cruelty of it was staggering. She was trying to pair me off with other men while she was sleeping with my husband behind my back. She was not just cheating. She was mocking me to my face. Meanwhile, Derek doubled down on his own lies and manipulations. They started using my own mother as a weapon in their game. I will never forget the day my mom called me. Her voice was full of excitement and happiness. "Maya, honey, I have to tell you something, but you need to act surprised when it happens," she said in a conspiratorial whisper. "What is it, Mom?" Yes. My stomach sank. Well, Lily was just here at my house, and she accidentally let it slip that she and Derek have been planning a huge surprise for your anniversary. Maybe a trip somewhere special. My blood ran ice cold. Our anniversary was 5 months away. She has been so secretive about it, my mom continued, completely oblivious to the truth. But she mentioned they have been working on planning it for months now, meeting up to arrange all the details. Is that not the sweetest thing? That your sister and husband care enough about you to do that together. Months of working on it. Secret meetings. Involving my own mother in their web of lies. They were not just having an affair anymore. They were systematically rewriting reality, manipulating everyone around us, isolating me in a web of deceit. This was not just cheating. This was a conspiracy. That phone call with my mother crystallized something cold and hard inside me. The last bits of my hurt and sadness burned away completely, leaving behind a freezing, clarifying rage. My goal was no longer just to expose them for cheating. My goal was to dismantle their entire false reality piece by piece in front of everyone they had lied to and manipulated. They wanted to control the story and the narrative. Fine. I was about to give them a narrative they would never, ever forget. I decided to force everything into the open. I was done with subtle hints and silent watching. I needed to see exactly how far Derek would go with his lies. One afternoon before Derek got home from work, I deliberately left a trail of clues on the kitchen counter. Evidence of his own betrayal. A printout of the hotel receipt. A few screenshots of their messages that were incriminating but not explicit. I placed them right next to where he always checked his mail, where he absolutely could not miss seeing them. Then I waited in the living room with my heart pounding, ready for the inevitable explosive confrontation that would finally bring everything out into the open. Hours passed slowly. I heard him come through the front door. The jingle of his keys. The sound of him sorting through the mail. Silence. A long, heavy, terrible silence. Finally, he walked into the living room where I was sitting. His expression was not angry or guilty like I expected. It was grave and serious. He looked like a man carrying a heavy, sad burden. "We need to talk," he said, sitting down in the chair across from me. "Yes, we absolutely do," I agreed. A strange sense of relief washed over me. Finally, the charade was over. The lying would stop. "I found something very troubling," he continued. His voice was tight with what sounded like genuine pain. He placed a folder on the coffee table between us. I picked it up, expecting to see the evidence I had left out for him. Instead, I pulled out a stack of printed emails. Emails between my work colleague James and me. They were completely innocent messages about project deadlines and technical computer issues, but someone had altered them. Derek had selectively copied and pasted phrases, removed all context, and reassembled them to make it look like flirty, romantic, cheating messages. He had manufactured fake proof of an affair to accuse me of cheating. "I know about you and James," Derek said. His voice was heavy with fake sadness and pain. "How long has this been going on, Maya? All those late nights at the office working on projects. It all makes sense now." The audacity was so surreal, so utterly evil that I almost laughed out loud. This was not just deflection or denial. This was a preemptive strike. He was setting up his justification and excuse. He was creating a whole narrative where my supposed cheating had tragically pushed him into my sister's arms. He was making himself the victim. "There is absolutely nothing with James," I said. My voice was dangerously quiet. "Those messages are about work projects, and you know that perfectly well." "They look pretty intimate and romantic to me," he said, shaking his head with fake sadness. "I just cannot believe you would do this to us, to our marriage." The calculated, cold nature of it chilled me to my core. In that exact moment, I understood that direct confrontation would never work. Derek and Lily had invested too much energy and time in their lies. They would deny, deflect, manipulate, and distort the truth until their fiction became everyone's accepted reality. They would burn me to the ground to save themselves and their reputations. I think, Derek said, taking my hand with rehearsed fake concern, that we should spend some time apart, living separately. This situation is not healthy for either of us. Relief flooded across his face when I did not pull my hand away or argue. I played my part perfectly. I let him hold my hand. Time apart might be good, I whispered quietly. He squeezed my hand tightly. A look of deep, fake sympathy crossed his face. This is not about blaming anyone, the master manipulator said, acting out his role. Sometimes married people just grow apart naturally. Happens. He paused dramatically, then delivered his final, perfectly planned line. Lily offered to let me stay in her guest room for a while we figure everything out. Course she had. Course. Their whole evil plan slotted together perfectly like puzzle pieces. Derek thought my quiet acceptance meant I had surrendered and given up. He thought he had won the game. He was terribly, catastrophically wrong. As he sat there gloating silently in his own cleverness, I was already mentally moving forward to the next phase of my investigation and plan. The game had completely changed, and they had absolutely no idea of the hell I was about to unleash on them both. The day Derek packed his belongings and moved out was one of the strangest days of my entire life. He packed 2 big suitcases, whistling a cheerful, oblivious tune the whole time, acting like this was a perfectly normal, friendly separation. Lily came over to our house to help him pack, throwing me looks of pity and fake compassion that made me want to scream at the top of my lungs. They were so confident in their elaborate drama, so absolutely sure of their script and plan. Take all the time you need to heal, big sis, Lily said, giving me a tight, completely fake hug before they left. The very second their car pulled out of the driveway and disappeared, I took a personal day off from work. While they thought I was home crying and heartbroken, I was actually driving downtown to meet someone. My destination was the office of a woman named Patricia Rodriguez, a private investigator a colleague had recommended to me once. She was a sharp, no-nonsense former police detective who specialized in infidelity cases and had testified in hundreds of divorce trials. I sat across from her at her cluttered desk and presented my complete files. Not theories or suspicions. A comprehensive, detailed dossier of evidence. She looked through my documentation carefully. The timelines, the financial records, the location tracking data, the photographs. She let out a low whistle of surprise and professional admiration. "Ma'am," she said, looking at me over her reading glasses, "most people come to me with a gut feeling and a few blurry cell phone photos. You have brought me a complete prosecution case." "It is what I do for a living," I replied simply. "Just usually not for my own personal life. I am not hiring you to do surveillance or follow them around. I need a professional expert assessment. What evidence do I have and what else might I need?" She confirmed what I already suspected deep down. My evidence was very compelling and strong, but a skilled, expensive lawyer could potentially explain away each individual piece if presented separately. The hotel stay could be claimed as a business trip. The evenings near her apartment could be explained as him helping her fix something broken. "Intent," Rodriguez said, tapping my folder with her finger. "Intent and conspiracy are what you need to prove. If you can demonstrate that they deliberately plan to deceive you and manipulate others around you, your legal position becomes much, much stronger. It is not just about the affair itself. It is about the conspiracy and the lies." I left her office with a completely renewed sense of purpose and direction. My next stop was to meet with Atlanta's most respected and feared divorce attorney, a sharp, elegant, intimidating woman named Victoria Cross. She reviewed my mountain of evidence with cold, clinical precision and professionalism. "This is exceptional documentation, Maya," she said. Her voice was quiet but commanding. "Most clients bring me tears and angry accusations. You have brought actual receipts, literally and figuratively. What outcome can I realistically expect?" I asked her directly. "A very favorable settlement without question," she explained carefully. "But you must understand that Georgia operates under what is called a no-fault divorce system. The court will not legally punish them for having the affair itself. Their cheating has very limited impact on how assets get divided unless you can prove deliberate financial fraud or theft. I am not looking for legal punishment or revenge, I said. My voice was hard as steel. I am not even looking for more money than I deserve. What I want is for the truth to be publicly acknowledged. I want their carefully constructed narrative completely dismantled. I want everyone in our lives to see them for exactly who they really are. Victoria Cross studied me thoughtfully and carefully for a long moment. Then she offered a small, knowing, almost predatory smile. Well, she said, leaning back in her expensive leather chair, the court of public opinion can often be far more punishing and devastating than any judicial sentence or ruling. Her words hit me like a thunderbolt of clarity. A public fiction and lie deserved a public truth and reckoning. And I knew with absolute crystal-clear certainty exactly how and when I was going to deliver that truth to everyone. Armed with professional advice and guidance, I expanded and deepened my investigation significantly. It was no longer just about documenting evidence of the affair itself. It was about exposing the intent, the planning, the conspiracy, the systematic manipulation. And what I discovered was far worse and more extensive than I could have ever imagined in my worst nightmares. The first major breakthrough came from carefully analyzing our joint savings account. I noticed a series of regular, identical withdrawals that had been made consistently over the past year. They were cleverly disguised and labeled as simple cash withdrawals for normal household expenses and groceries. But when I dug deeper and cross-referenced dates, I discovered they corresponded perfectly with deposits of the exact same amounts into a secret, private account that Derek had opened without my knowledge or consent. He had been systematically draining our shared future, our retirement savings, our dreams, to finance his new secret life with my sister. It was not just emotional betrayal. It was financial infidelity and theft. It was not just a betrayal of my heart and trust. It was a betrayal of our entire partnership, our shared dreams of retirement and travel and security and growing old together. He was literally stealing our future from me. But the most shocking, gut-wrenching discovery came from Derek's cloud storage backup system. Like many people, his phone automatically backed up everything to the cloud. Photos, notes, text messages, everything. He had never been very tech-savvy or careful with technology and had completely forgotten the backup system even existed. One night, armed with a password I had known for years, I logged into his account and found their complete private conversations going back years. Reading their messages felt like pouring burning acid directly into my soul. They talked about me in cruel, dismissive, mocking terms. They laughed about my trust and blind faith in them. They made fun of my work, my personality, my habits. They joked about how completely oblivious I was to everything happening right under my nose. I will never forget one specific exchange between them. It is permanently branded into my brain forever. Derek had written, "She is so completely buried in her computer work. She has not noticed a single thing. We could probably make out on the living room couch while she is typing reports in the next room, and she would not even hear us." Lily's reply came exactly 1 minute later. Also true. She will probably thank us for making the divorce decision for her eventually. She never knew how to be a real wife anyway. Always so boring and serious about everything. She never knew how to be a real wife. Those words echoed and reverberated in my silent, empty room. All the years I had supported Derek's demanding medical career without complaint. All the times I managed our entire home by myself. All the celebrations of his every promotion and achievement. All the times I nursed him through illness and stress. It all boiled down to that single cruel sentence. Joke. Failure. A woman who never knew how to be a real wife. Reading their systematic cruelty transformed something fundamental deep inside me. The protective numbness that had shielded me for months completely shattered into pieces, and in its place came a cold, crystal-clear, clarifying rage unlike anything I had ever felt before. This was not just betrayal or cheating. This was systematic, deliberate emotional abuse. This was a coordinated, planned effort to undermine my sense of reality, to paint me as a fool and a failure, all to preserve their own selfish image as two people who simply fell in love and could not help themselves. I meticulously and carefully saved every single message, every financial transaction, every documented lie. My investigation dossier was no longer just about proving an affair happened. It was about documenting a calculated, malicious, extended campaign of deception, manipulation, theft, and cruelty. Divorce was absolutely inevitable now. But it would happen entirely on my terms, in my time, in my way. And the court of public opinion was about to be formally convened. Just as I was putting the final touches on compiling all my evidence into organized folders, my phone buzzed with an incoming text message. My heart started hammering hard against my ribs. It was from my mother. Big family Thanksgiving dinner at the house this Thursday. It is your grandmother's 80th birthday celebration. Derek and Lily both confirmed they are coming. Please come too, sweetheart. Do not make things awkward for Grandma on her special day. Do not make it awkward. The irony was so thick and heavy I could have choked on it. But as I read and reread that text message, a slow, cold smile spread across my face. They had no idea what was coming. They had just handed me the absolutely perfect stage, the perfect audience, the perfect moment. All the actors in this drama would be assembled together in one room, all expecting me to play the role of the sad, pitiful, heartbroken wife, the awkward third wheel in their beautiful new love story. They fully expected me to follow their carefully written script. I spent the next 3 days in a state of intense, laser-focused preparation. I was no longer a wife or a sister. I was a prosecutor preparing for the single most important trial of my entire life. I did not just dump all my evidence into one massive, overwhelming file. That would be messy and confusing and ineffective. Instead, I carefully personalized my entire presentation. I created separate, curated packets of evidence for each key family member, tailored specifically to what would impact them most. For my father, a practical, no-nonsense businessman, I compiled all the financial evidence in clear spreadsheets. I included the statements from our joint savings account right alongside the statements from Derek's secret hidden account, carefully highlighting the dates when Derek had borrowed money from my dad for a supposedly smart investment opportunity while simultaneously and secretly diverting our shared funds into his private account. For my mother, a woman who valued family loyalty and honesty above absolutely everything else in life, I focused specifically on Lily's systematic deception and manipulation. I included screenshots of text messages where Lily used helping mom with grocery shopping and errands as a cover story, and alibi to secretly meet Derek for romantic encounters. I included the conversations about the fake anniversary surprise, showing clearly how they had used my mother's love and trust as a tool and weapon in their elaborate lies. For my grandmother, aunts, uncles, and cousins, I documented the specific individual lies that had been told to each person, showing a clear, undeniable pattern of family-wide manipulation that had affected every single person. The final finishing touch was a master file, a complete comprehensive dossier that I sent only to myself. Contained absolutely everything. The full detailed timeline. Every single piece of financial and digital evidence. A detailed, dispassionate, clinical account of my entire discovery process from beginning to end. This would be my reference guide, my script during the inevitable chaos that would follow my big reveal. Thursday morning, I woke up with a strange, deep, peaceful sense of calm and serenity. There was no anxiety, no fear, no nervousness. Just absolute crystal-clear purpose. I dressed carefully and deliberately, choosing a simple green dress that Derek had always said he loved seeing me wear. I styled my hair nicely. I applied light, natural makeup. And I put on the pearl necklace my grandmother had given me when I graduated college. A small piece of her strength and wisdom. A tangible piece of my own family heritage and legacy. As I was about to walk out the door to leave, my phone chimed with an incoming text from Lily. Just confirming you are definitely coming tonight. Grandma would be absolutely heartbroken if you did not show up. We are all family after all, right? Let us not make tonight weird or awkward. The casual, breathtaking audacity of that message nearly shattered my careful composure. I took a long, deep breath. My hand rested on the door handle. In just a few short hours, their carefully constructed fiction and false reality would crumble and collapse under the crushing weight of irrefutable, documented truth. I replied with a single word. Coming. I arrived at my grandmother's house exactly on time, carrying a homemade pumpkin pie, her absolute favorite, and a carefully wrapped birthday gift. As I stepped inside through the front door, the familiar comforting sounds and smells of our family gathering washed over me like a wave. For one brief moment, it felt just like any other normal Thanksgiving, any other happy family celebration. But I knew the truth. It was not normal. It was the end of an entire era of my life. Derek and Lily were already there when I arrived, sitting close together on the living room sofa like a real couple. This was the first time they had been so openly together as a couple in a family setting. They were testing the waters carefully, gauging everyone's reactions. They both looked up as I entered the room. Their faces showed a mixture of pity and nervous apprehension. My mother greeted me with a tight, worried hug that lasted a long time. "Oh Maya, I am so relieved you came," she whispered in my ear. "This means so much to your grandmother." The dinner proceeded with a painfully forced sense of normalcy. We ate my grandmother's famous turkey and stuffing. We discussed safe, neutral topics. The weather, my cousin's new baby, my uncle's recent fishing trip, my grandmother's plans for her 80th year. I participated mechanically, automatically, like a ghost at my own family's feast. I watched Derek and Lily exchange small, secret, confident smiles across the crowded table. They were just waiting patiently for their big planned moment. The moment they had carefully rehearsed and choreographed. As my mother started bringing out the birthday cake and desserts, it finally came. Derek cleared his throat loudly and tapped his fork against his water glass. Ting ting ting. The room instantly went completely silent. It was the exact same gesture he had used for every major announcement in our life together. Our engagement, buying our first house, his big promotion to head surgeon. Moments that had once filled me with such pride and joy now felt like steps in one long, elaborate deception. He began his prepared speech. The one I knew was coming word for word. Carefully chosen words about difficult life decisions. About unexpected love that cannot be controlled. About not being able to choose who your heart falls for. As he spoke those rehearsed lines, I felt a buzz from my phone hidden in my purse. I glanced down discreetly under the table. It was an alert from my email app. Delivery failure. Server error. A jolt of pure ice-cold panic shot through my entire body. I quickly checked the status with shaking hands. The carefully timed emails I had scheduled, the entire foundation of my plan, had failed to send due to a temporary server outage. Estimated recovery time was listed as unknown. My blood ran absolutely ice-cold in my veins. My entire carefully orchestrated plan had hinged completely on those emails going out exactly on time. Without them, I was exactly what they expected and wanted me to be. The shocked, tearful, hysterical wife with no proof, no power, no credibility. Just wild accusations and a crazy story they could easily dismiss and explain away. Derek was reaching the dramatic climax of his speech now. His hand openly and boldly held Lily's hand across the table for everyone to see. My entire family watched them with expressions ranging from shock to discomfort to pity. Deep pity for poor, blindsided me. I had mere seconds to make a critical decision. Walk away completely defeated, or confront them right now with nothing but my word against both of theirs. Neither option was acceptable. And then I suddenly remembered my backup plan. I had brought my laptop in my oversized purse just in case something went wrong. All the evidence, the complete master dossier, was organized and ready to go. As Derek spoke his final rehearsed words, "Lily and I have fallen in love, and we cannot deny our feelings any longer," and every single eye in that room turned expectantly to me, waiting for my breakdown and tears. I was already moving with purpose and determination. Calmly and deliberately, I reached into my purse under the table, pulled out my laptop, opened it. I navigated quickly to my email program. I attached the complete master file containing every single piece of evidence, and I added every family member's email address to the recipient line. As the stunned, heavy silence in the room stretched out like taffy, I pressed send with a firm, decisive click. Then I looked up calmly, met my husband's confident, smug gaze directly, and spoke into the absolute quiet. "Please everyone," I said. My voice resonated with a clarity and strength that surprised even me. "Check your email right now." Immediately. The choreography and timing of the next few moments was almost beautiful in its precision. A rapid succession of chimes and buzzes and vibrations rang out around the table as my email landed in everyone's inbox simultaneously. Confused looks were exchanged around the table. People glanced at each other questioningly. My cousin Tyler was the first person to actually open the email. His eyes went wide as dinner plates as he started scrolling through the evidence. His mouth fell open. "I have provided some additional context and background for Derek's announcement," I explained calmly as Derek's confident smile finally vanished completely, replaced instantly by a look of mounting horror and panic. "Just some documentation and evidence. I thought you should all have access to the complete truth." My father was next. His face darkened like a dangerous storm cloud as he scrolled rapidly on his phone. His jaw clenched tighter and tighter. "Well, I will be damned," Tyler whispered under his breath, still scrolling. My mother carefully put her phone down on the table. Her hands were visibly shaking. Her eyes darted back and forth from Lily to me, complete disbelief and horror fighting for control of her face. "What is this? What did you do?" Sasha hissed at me. Her face was draining of all color. Derek fumbled frantically for his own phone. "It is the complete truth," I replied simply and calmly. "Everything. The full history of your relationship with my sister. Organized chronologically for clarity and ease of understanding. Hotel receipts, text messages, financial records showing theft. It is all documented there." The room fell into a new kind of silence. Not the silence of shock this time, but the heavy, resonant silence of revelation and truth. The only sounds were occasional gasps or whispered curses as different family members reached another damning piece of evidence in the files. "These are private conversations," Derek finally sputtered, scrolling frantically through the messages on his phone. His carefully planned narrative was disintegrating with every passing second. "You had absolutely no right to access these. This is a serious invasion of privacy." "Actually, I did have the right," I cut in firmly. My voice was cold and clinical, like I was testifying as an expert witness in court. "The shared financial accounts were legally joint accounts, shared property. And most of this information was gathered from devices and accounts you carelessly left open and logged into in our shared home. It is called digital forensics, Derek. It is literally my professional expertise and career." I directed my steady gaze to the entire room, to my whole family. "You both plan to make this announcement tonight," I said firmly. My voice was strong and unwavering. "You carefully choreographed this entire moment to control the narrative and the story. The reluctant, star-crossed lovers. The difficult but necessary decision. A clean, amicable break. You just did not expect that I would have a narrative of my own, based entirely on documented facts." My mother was the first family member to find her voice. She turned slowly to face my sister. Her face had gone pale. Her voice was trembling with a fury I had never, ever heard from her before in my entire life. "Lily, how could you possibly do this to your own sister? Your own flesh and blood?" Lily immediately crumbled, instantly resorting to tears. Her lifelong go-to strategy and defense mechanism. "I never meant to hurt anyone," she sobbed dramatically. "Just happened naturally. You cannot control who you fall in love with. People do not choose love. According to your own text messages, you have been planning and coordinating this affair for over 2 years," my cousin Tyler interjected sharply, holding up his phone to show everyone. His face was twisted with disgust. "That is not just happening naturally or accidentally. That is a calculated scheme and conspiracy." The chorus of condemnation and anger grew louder and louder around the table. My grandmother was shaking her head in profound disappointment, looking at Lily like she was a complete stranger. My aunt was comforting my mother, who was now staring at Lily as if seeing her clearly for the very first time. My Uncle Robert, a retired accountant, was interrogating a completely stunned Derek about the financial discrepancies and the secret bank account, demanding explanations. Derek made one final last-ditch desperate attempt at damage control. He tried to put on his authoritative doctor persona and voice. "This is clearly Maya's way of processing a very difficult life transition," he said, adopting a clinical, condescending tone that made my skin crawl. "She has created this elaborate conspiracy theory to avoid facing the real issues in our marriage." "Shut up, Derek." My father's voice sliced through the air like a knife. It was ice-cold and razor-sharp. The entire room went silent. "My daughter does not fabricate evidence or make up stories. Ever. She is a professional." The battle was completely over. The truth had won decisively. After 8 long months of careful documentation, meticulous analysis, and thorough preparation, there was absolutely nothing else I needed to say or prove. The evidence spoke for itself with perfect clarity. I picked up my purse and coat quietly and stood up from the table. "I should go now," I said quietly into the tense, heavy silence. "Grandma, I am so deeply sorry that your birthday dinner was ruined like this." My grandmother was by my side in an instant. Her thin arms wrapped around me tightly. "You have absolutely nothing to apologize for, sweetheart," she said firmly. Her voice was rough with emotion. "You told the truth. That is all." Outside in the cool, crisp evening air, my father walked me to my car. He hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. "I had no idea whatsoever what you were going through all alone," he said. His voice was thick with emotion and regret. "Why did you not tell us sooner? We could have helped you." "I needed to understand the full scope and extent of it all first," I explained honestly, leaning into his strong, comforting hug. "And I needed everyone else to understand it too. To see it clearly. Not just take my word against theirs. I needed them all to see the documented truth with their own eyes." As I got into my car and slowly drove away from that house, my phone, which I had silenced during dinner, suddenly lit up with a relentless, overwhelming stream of family messages. Messages of support. Messages of shock and disbelief. Messages of solidarity and love. I turned the phone completely off, deeply grateful for the silence and peace. For the first time in 8 terrible months, I felt a profound sense of peace washing over me. The war was finally over. I had won. As I drove slowly away from that house, away from the smoking wreckage of my old life, I felt an incredible, overwhelming sense of release and freedom. It was like breathing freely for the first time in months. The weight finally lifting. And I know that some of you listening and watching right now know exactly what that feeling is like. If you are still here listening to my story all the way to the end, it means so much to me. More than you could ever know. It makes me feel a little less alone in all of this pain and struggle. If you could, please help me out by giving this video a thumbs up and just commenting with a number 1 down below in the comments. It lets me know you connected with my story and it tells me you are here with me on this difficult journey. Your support is a bigger boost to my spirit than you could ever imagine. So please just take 1 second to comment with a number 1 and let me tell you how this whole story ends and where I am now. The very next morning after Thanksgiving, I officially filed for divorce. The legal process was surprisingly swift and straightforward. With the absolute mountain of irrefutable evidence I had compiled and organized, there was no fight, no drawn-out court battle. Derek and Lily's desperate attempts to control the narrative and story had completely collapsed. Not in a messy, prolonged battle of he said, she said, but through the quiet, methodical, undeniable presentation of documented truth. They were both completely ostracized and shunned by our entire family. My heartbroken mother told Lily she needed a very long time, possibly years, before she could even look at her again or speak to her. My father flatly refused to speak to Derek ever again under any circumstances. Their supposedly great epic love story had become a cautionary tale, a warning story about deception and betrayal that would be told in our family for generations. 3 months later, I sat in my attorney Victoria Cross's elegant office, signing the final divorce papers that would officially end my marriage. She asked me directly if I felt satisfied with the outcome and resolution. "I do not feel satisfaction exactly," I replied honestly, looking down at my signature on the page that officially ended my 9-year marriage. I just feel clarity. Complete clarity. I had built my entire career on uncovering hidden digital evidence of human behavior and deception. I never imagined in a million years that my most important, most personal case would be documenting and exposing the complete unraveling of my own marriage and life. But in the end, the professional tools of my trade became the tools of my salvation and freedom. Methodical, careful documentation had achieved what emotional confrontation and accusations never could have achieved. It replaced lies and deception with irrefutable, undeniable truth. That same afternoon, I packed up the very last of my personal belongings from the house we had built together. The craftsman home that had once been my absolute dream house now felt like a museum of dead memories and broken dreams. But I did not feel sad anymore. I simply felt finished, complete, ready to move forward. I moved into a new apartment across town. A small, bright, modern space with huge windows and completely unobstructed views overlooking the Atlanta skyline. As the sun set that first evening, casting a beautiful golden glow over my empty living room, I sat cross-legged on the floor with my laptop open. I opened Project Truth one final time. I looked at all the folders and files, filled with so much pain and betrayal and documented lies. And then I dragged the entire project folder to the trash. Then I permanently emptied the trash. It was gone forever. It was the final step in a process that had consumed nearly a full year of my life. Tomorrow would be the first page of a completely new chapter. One written entirely by my own hand, on my own terms, for my own future. And as I sat there watching the city lights gradually turn on across the skyline, I knew with a certainty that filled my entire being that I was going to be perfectly all right. Better than all right. I was going to thrive. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to my entire story from beginning to end. It was not easy to tell, reliving all that pain. But sharing it helps heal the wounds. If you have gone through anything similar, or if any part of this story resonated with you and your experiences, please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. You are not alone in your pain. And remember, no matter how dark and hopeless things seem to get, you always have the inner strength to find your own truth and reclaim your life. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next story.